Hi friends, Mindy here. Today I'm going to be setting up my journal for the newest kit from By the Will for God, which is called Contending for the Faith. I am going to be making a journal to work in for this month, and I am starting out with some chipboard. This is just some chipboard that I have had in my stash for a long time. But the reason that I'm using it is just it's a little bit thicker than what I would normally use, which is like a recycled cereal box or snack box or whatever. And so what I have done is I've cut down these pieces to roughly 5x7 and one piece for the spine, which is approximately 1.5 inches. And I have this product that I've had in my stash for a while. This is by American Crafts. It's called Stone Paper. And I am needing to use this or wanting to use this for my project today. So this is a paper that's, it's really like a synthetic paper. And so it's waterproof. It does not tear easily. It's going to stand up to some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing to it today. So it's a bright white paper, which is really nice for some of the other things that I want to do. But I chose it mostly because of the waterproof factor and the durability of it. So you could certainly just, paint the chipboard with some gesso or whatever. I just felt like I was going to get a better finish if I did it this way. So I have my pieces laying out here, and I am trying to decide if it's best to try to cover this all as one big piece or if I should individually wrap each piece. I've done that in the past with when I've made journals, is kind of wrap each piece separately and then kind of assemble them. So you can see me, I'm just kind of trying to go back and forth and trying to decide what the best way is and how to work this so I'm not wasting as much, paper and all that kind of stuff. So in the end, what I do is I decide to just do this all as one piece. And so what I'm going to do is take a score tape. This is actually the scrapbook.com brand double-sided sticky tape. And I am going to cover one side of these pieces totally. And then I'm going to kind of prop this up here a little bit. I'm having to fight with it a little because it's been rolled up in the packaging. So, and then what I'm going to do here is on this one piece, I'm going to kind of pull back the backer paper. I'm just burnishing it down really well first. And then, but I'm going to pull the middle section all the way off, but on the two ends, I'm going to kind of create these little flaps. And what this does is it will help me, kind of navigate this onto the paper without it just like sticking down. So this double-sided tape is really sticky. So this just kind of gives me a way to make sure that it's positioned where I want it before I permanently stick it down. And then you can kind of just pull the release paper from behind it. So I'm going to do that for all three pieces. Whenever you're doing a spine like this, you want to make sure that you're leaving space for the book to fold. So in between the spine and the end piece, I'm holding up another, like a spare sheet of this chipboard, and I'm just making sure, I'm just going to kind of butt this up next to it. I want to make sure that I have approximately the same width of the chipboard in between each of the pieces. So you can see I'm just kind of holding that in place, and then I'll pull the release paper. And so they're not completely touching. There's just, maybe 1/8 of an inch or less in between there. And that is just going to allow my spine to fold easier. So it just gives it a little bit of room when you fold it. So I did that with the last piece there as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim down this stone paper. It cuts amazingly with just a pair of scissors. You can see it just slides right along. This is really pretty neat paper. I'm looking forward to using it in some other projects. So I'm going to cut some notches here around all four corners. That's just going to help me get a really nice edge. And then here's where like after the fact, I realized this is not the way I should not have done it this way, but it's okay. So I put the score tape down, covered all of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and now wrap. I've already done the two sides. I'm just going to wrap the top and bottom. So I'm kind of pulling back all of this score tape. I just don't want to leave it exposed because it's so sticky. If anything falls into it or, you stick your finger in it, it's just really, really sticky. So you can see I'm just kind of going along here. There was some that was kind of hanging off the edge. And I'm going to kind of roll this around the edge first so that I get a really nice, crisp corner, and then I'm just going to kind of sliding it around, and then I'm going to use my bone folder and just make sure this is like pushed up really nicely up against the edge, and then kind of I was using that to kind of push up against there. And anyway, I'm going to use my bone folder and then just kind of gently fold it over and get it into place. In retrospect, it would have been easier to just put the score tape along the edges of the actual paper itself and then fold it over and then come back and add more score tape later. But for some reason, my brain just was not thinking that way to when I was working on this, so that's okay. And then I'm just going through and I'm going to do the other side as well. You can see I've removed all the backing paper now, and then I'm also just periodically making sure I'm going through here and really kind of where that fold is, I'm just kind of pushing the paper down into there, and it's going to want to kind of stay open until it kind of trains itself. So you just kind of have to keep folding it and whatever. And so now I want to add my inner papers here, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to do kind of the spine piece. So I decided to just add another piece of this stone paper. So I'm just trimming it to, this was the some of the stuff that I had left over. I'm just trimmed it down to the right height, and I'm just going to add this right into the middle just to cover that spine. Most of this is going to get covered up with the end papers, but I just didn't want to have any of that chipboard kind of showing through. So again, I'm going to just keep folding. You'll see me do this several times. I actually use my bone folder here to kind of get in between that space just to make sure that everything is going to bend really well and give me a good closure, so that my book at the end doesn't want to just keep opening. So I'm just kind of, just training it as I go here. You can see it still wants to kind of stay open, but that will be fine later on. So now I'm going to add these two pieces of paper. I cut these down. This is from the 6x8 paper pack that you get that coordinates with the kit. I trimmed them down to about, I guess, 4 3/4 or by 6 3/4, just a little bit smaller than my cover pieces, so that there's just a little bit of exposed white around the edge. But where that white was, obviously I did not have any adhesive, so I just went around with my Barely Arts glue and glued that down, which is why it would have been easier to do this kind of in the opposite order, but that's okay. And then again, I'm just retraining. Again, I'm doing this a lot, just refolding, bending this back, pushing the paper down into the fold and everything, just to make sure that that's going to close the way that I want it to. So that's pretty much how my journal cover is going to go, but now I want to decorate it. So in my stash, I have these gears and clock pieces and all these little metal findings and things. And so what I'm going to do is use some Tim Holtz Distress, what is this called? Collage medium. And I'm going to glue all of those pieces down. I kind of, off camera, I fiddled with it and got it kind of into the order where I thought I would like it. And then I now have glued that and let it dry. I didn't make you watch that because that was kind of tedious. And then now I'm just going to go over this. This is just white gesso. I'm working on a craft mat. Excuse my little fan over there in the corner. My air conditioning has gone out in my house, and so it's really hot, and so I have a little fan going. But anyway, so here I'm just going through with a layer of gesso, kind of working it into all the little grooves of each of these little clock pieces, these little metal findings. There's watch pieces, there's like a little clock face and all kinds of stuff. So and then I will actually go ahead and put gesso all over the entire cover, just so that I have a consistent finish on this stone paper. But this is going to take several coats of gesso, and then in the end, this is what it looks like after, I don't know, several coats. And so now I want to add some color. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going in with some antique linen distress paint, and I'm going to water this down. So I added water to the paint. I'm adding a little water to my paintbrush because it was dry. And then I sprayed down the cover with water as well. As you can see, this is why I chose this stone paper that was, waterproof, because I don't have to worry about it soaking into the chipboard weird or anything like that. So it's really protecting all of that. So here I don't have it quite as thin as it needs to be, and really trying to get it to run down the page. I want it to kind of collect in the grooves and things behind all of those gears in different ways. And so I'm just spraying it down with some more water, making it just a little bit thinner, and then adding some more to the cover, to the front, and then I'm going all the way back to the back as well. And then I'll just, spray it. I'm going to kind of dab up some of the excess here. Just going to put a paper towel to kind of absorb some of the spill so that it doesn't collect down at the bottom and make kind of a weird muddy spot down at the bottom. So I'm liking how this was looking, kind of, except right here in the center, it wasn't really thin enough to get down in there. So I'm just adding some more in some different places. Again, adding some water to get it to run and disperse. And also, with distress paints, they work really well when you can thin them out. And then I'm just going to kind of go through this same process. So I'm going to dry all of that really well. The good thing about distress paint, once it's dry, is it's permanent. So now I'm going to go in with some spray, and this is actually Vintage Photo Distress Oxide Spray. So I'm spraying it onto my cover here, right, mostly concentrated over where the gears and things are. And then I'm going to spray it with water. And you'll see I'm just going to kind of go back and forth between spraying it with water to get it to run and drip, and kind of mopping up all of the excess down here at the bottom, just trying to kind of get it to go where I want it to. I needed a little bit more up in that top right hand corner. And so I want it to be kind of just concentrated. I don't want it to be a full coverage all the way across. I just want to leave it with a little bit of interest. And so some of these places where it's a little bit darker, I went ahead and just sprayed some more. The color that they swatched for By the Well4God was actually ground espresso, but I didn't have that in a spray. So I am just using Vintage Photo, and I actually really like how this turned out. So again, you can see here, I'm just spraying some water, kind of moving it around, dabbing up the excess. I'm trying to prevent it from getting puddles down here at the bottom. I'm going in with a little bit of a paper towel where it's kind of collecting kind of strange in some of the gears, and just kind of dabbing up some of the excess. And then I will go ahead here and go across the bottom, again, trying to keep that from just all pooling down there. And then I'm going to spray some on the back side as well. So I dried that a little bit, and now I'm going to do the back side. I wasn't as concerned with trying to get the same exact look on the back side, so I'm just kind of, I sprayed it on the back, I sprayed water over it. I'm just trying to get it to kind of move around and just to add some color back there, but that really wasn't, I was really happy with how that turned out, so I just didn't do anything else with it. So I'm trying to match this kind of paper here from the paper pack, and so far I feel like it's doing okay. I want to add just a little bit of a contrasting color. So what I'm going to use is, this is, what was it? Iced Spruce Distress Oxide Spray. And I have sprayed it onto my craft mat here, and then I added some water to it to start the oxidization process. And now I'm going to just very carefully in certain areas, I'm going to go through and add this. And again, it's, it's thinned out because I've added some water. It's also starting to do the fun thing that Distress Oxide does when you add water. And so I'm just kind of dabbing it around in different places, just really randomly, wherever, I kind of want some darker places, or where some of the white is still shining through a little bit. And then there was one little section down here by this clock face that was kind of turning a little funky, so I had to dab that up. And then I just dried it. And you can see this dried really like a lot pinker than I was expecting it to. I don't know what exactly happened there, but it was a really nice shade of pink, and then it just kind of got darker, which was interesting. So I want to kind of bring back some of the brown tones. So I have now pulled out, this is Walnut Stain, and I just, again, sprayed a little bit on my craft mat, add a little water, and I'm almost dry brushing this almost onto some of these areas, just to kind of give a little bit more of this brown tone into this, where this vintage photo kind of turned a little bit pink. And then I kind of go through and dab just to make sure I don't have any like very specific paint brush strokes or whatever. And that is pretty much going to be it for adding the color. Just made sure to dry that really well. And now I'm going in with the Tim Holtz Distress Foundry Wax. This is so fun. I've used this several times on my channel. It's really a unique product. I'm using, this is called Statue, and then another one I will use a little bit down the road here is called Mind. I like using them together. So you basically just apply it. I applied it with my finger, just kind of hitting the high points of some of these gears, and then dry it, and then it, like you would with embossing powder, but it just doesn't take as long as embossing powder, and then it melts into this beautiful finish. So here I'm actually mixing the two colors. This is Mind and Statue, and I really love this color combination together. So I'm gonna add this in some different places as well, just to kind of give a variety of kind of metal finishes here. Again, just hitting the high points, trying to bring out some of the gears a little bit better. And then I just dried all of that. So this Foundry Wax, actually, By the Well for God, is carrying that as well right now. So I will put my affiliate link down below if you're interested in checking that out. But this is basically how my cover is going to look. So I got a little spill on the inside, and that's fine. Here's a close-up kind of it. And off camera, I added some fabric to the outside spine. This was fabric that you could get that coordinated with the kit. And I sewed in my signatures. I just added some white Bristol Vellum Smooth paper, which is going to be really good for some mixed media techniques and stuff that I want to do in this kit. So I just sewed those in off camera. You've seen me do that a million times. So anyway, this is how my little journal ended up looking. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.